Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt, joined by our friend Jonathan Williams. He is the chief economist at the American Legislative Exchange Council. I'm going to be with Jonathan next week in Arizona when the States and Nation Policy Forum put on by ALEC is put on. But Jonathan, I was reading the show notes today, and I didn't realize I was on the ballot in Colorado last week, and apparently I lost.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, exactly. Good to be back, Hugh, and looking forward to having you with us next week out in Arizona. But yes, Prop HH was on the ballot in Colorado. And
I do not know how Prop
the,
HH loses, Jonathan. Explain to us how they could possibly have turned down Prop HH.
well, they hijacked the acronym, Hugh. That's the problem. Is they tried to pull a bait and switch on the voters and the taxpayers of Colorado by using Prop H to basically undermine, as you and I have talked about several times, the gold standard, I think, of spending and tax limitations in the United States, and that's Colorado's Taxpayer Bill of Rights that has, for the last 30 years, limited the growth of government in Colorado, I think, very effectively, and put really taxpayers in charge of the budgeting process. So unfortunately, they tried to put a little bit of lipstick on the pig, but the bait and switch didn't work, and voters rejected that by about a 60-40 margin. So Tabor, the nation's leading tax and spending limit, survives.
Now, Jonathan, I taught at Colorado College, Christian University for a year for the late Bill Armstrong. Eric Hogue is their president. Don was their president emeritus and now their chancellor. Jeff Hunt runs their Western Conservative Summit. Before that, I've been out there so often, and people like John Andrews have tried to explain Tabor to me for years. I don't know how it works, but taxpayers love it.
They do, and for good reason. Just because, it limits the government growth and spending to inflation plus population. But I think just as importantly, Hugh, and this is one of the things that Prop HH would have undone, is it actually gives voters the approval. Any new tax or tax increase has to go to the statewide ballot to get voter approval. And that's something that obviously the big spenders out there hate. And that's why for many years they've been dedicated and going to the ballot to try to either weaken or reverse Tabor. And the good news is even as Colorado has transitioned from a pretty red state to purple to probably safe to say blue at this point, even still, voters have seen the benefits of Tabor. They love the tax refunds that they get, and they realize that's really the only thing in the game that's keeping them from becoming California East in Colorado.
If every state had a Tabor, every state taxpayer would be getting a check every year because the money keeps going up in places like California and New York. They keep hauling it in and they keep blowing the dough, Jonathan. Do you think there's any other state that might follow the Colorado example here?
Well, stay tuned because we have a few things in the works where ALEC legislators across the country have seen the benefits of Tabor. We've discussed those benefits around educational sessions at our meetings, like the one you'll be with us next week out in Arizona. And I think we'll see several states next year take up Tabor as really, I think, the only way long term to restrain the urges of government, whether that's even Republican-led governments, as you know, in some cases, from overspending and overtaxing.
I was very disappointed by Texas this week, Jonathan. They did not pass universal school choice, and a bunch of Republicans sided with a bunch of Democrats taking school teachers union money. Were you surprised by that?
Well, not really surprised. I'm disappointed as well. It was I think, a smaller group of these holdout Republicans. But let's not forget, Hugh, as you know, for the last 15 years plus, a coalition of these Republicans and Democrats have elected their Speaker of the House in Texas, not just through the Republican caucus like you would see in the vast majority of other cases. And so this is nothing new for Texas. However, I do think what is positive out of what just happened, and this is no way to sugarcoat it right now in the temporary, this is a real loss for taxpayers and a loss for families. But going forward, this is really important because everyone is now on the record because the full vote went up to the House floor. We have your yays and nays, and we know exactly who is responsible. Before, they were using tons of legislative procedures to obscure this and keep these folks hidden from public view. But as Governor Abbott has said, and as Ted Cruz and others, I know you had Ted on, this is something that, they're going to be working hard as it goes to the 2024 primary season.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it because I want names. I want people to know who's not a Republican but pretends to be one. Jonathan, I'll see you in Arizona next week. We'll talk more up and down the ALEC website. Go to ALEC or go to richstatespoorstates.org. Actually, get the free Christmas present for your favorite nephew, niece, or in-law, and give it to them. richstatespoorstates.org.